All right, so today I wanted to focus on now from Toronto to Spain as part of the story, Let the Story Write Itself. This is episode 18 now, and I realize that I have not actually gotten to the part where I go from Toronto to Spain. And as you've been following the journey, I have taken a 4-day train ride from Vancouver to Toronto, one-way ticket, spent a month in Toronto, and now have the idea to go to Spain. And all of this is very much led by intuition. So there's no like logical reason for me to do all of this, which is where that feeling of taking a leap came in and that idea of the unknown and that feeling of having to almost shift my mindset from one that was very much in a state of a bit of a boxed in state where I was still thinking like I'm like in a program right now, or I'm just going about day-to-day life, but it wasn't quite in that state of flow that I then came to embody more from these new experiences. So I spent a month in Toronto, really just present and in the moment and allowing life to unfold as it is happening rather than needing to like know or plan things out. And I start becoming more in a flow state and even just changing my perspective on life and what it's all about. And this really was a state of just being in intuitive flow. And, when I went from Toronto to Spain, I had a little bit of this back and forth with myself where I was thinking, yeah, this is open ended. I really don't know where this is going to where this is going or like why I'm being called there. But I had this notion within myself that it doesn't matter. Like, who cares in a sense? Life is long as it is short in a sense. Like, sometimes we feel like we need to have everything planned out or that life has to go a certain way. But what I've come to notice is like there's a higher force and entity that kind of guides you and redirects you. And this feeling of connection to that, like kind of lends itself to a bit of that purpose where you're not necessarily just living for yourself, even though, I'm solo traveling and I'm kind of just going about on my own. It's like this feeling to a connection to a higher self. And I'm not really religious in the traditional sense of the word, but it's this idea that like connecting to God, to like let go, let God, right? So this idea of surrender and ease and allowing. And it was really the state that I was just allowing myself to be in, like relinquishing that need for control and simply flowing with where my ideas were taking me. And not even my ideas per se. Like they definitely did seem like they were coming from a different part of myself, like a higher part of myself, not my analytical mind, but a state of being that was just tuning in to something beyond. And I really do feel like this really came about from like different experiences, whether it was meditation or just going on one-way trips by myself and just like opening that part of myself that allowed me to exist in a new way that maybe didn't make a lot of logical sense, but that was coming more to the forefront in every sense of the word. And so this is really the journey that took me from Vancouver to Toronto. And it's really the journey that had kind of culminated after almost a decade since I was 17 and had that initial voice within telling me go travel rather than simply do something that really felt out of alignment for me, which was completing a university degree. So at this time, I'm about to embark on a new journey heading from Toronto to Spain. And, it was interesting because I was in Toronto, but it was still like familiar to me because it's just another province, right? It's just another big city. But then when I flew into Spain, I flew into Barcelona, which was like a very common port from Toronto. And I booked like a hostel there. So it was just like a very central place. And like I didn't necessarily have a plan. So I just kind of booked like a week in Barcelona to kind of just arrive and I guess figure things out once I got there. And it wasn't like a long trip, I think. It was just like a maybe 5 to 6 hour flight. So I was just kind of embarking on this journey without needing to know all the pieces in advance. And it was just this feeling of like, just take it one step at a time. It's like that philosophy that you don't have to know the entire staircase ahead. You just simply allow yourself to do what you're next called to and take care of the moment, and the moments take care of itself, right? So essentially, I'm like in Barcelona and I recall this feeling. I'm like, oh, I really miss Vancouver right now. So it wasn't like a total feeling of like, oh, I just love being here. I'm so happy. Like, but there was a sense of like peace that I'm like, okay, I'm kind of going where I feel like I'm being called to, like I'm being expanded as a human being, right? Like there's that value, that growth that I feel like is occurring. Like, because I already knew that when I was still in Vancouver, that was one major pain point for me that I just felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again. And I literally, like the word is bored. Like I felt like I'd already done everything in a sense that I could do there. Like I wasn't excited for everyday life in a sense. Like I was like, oh, I've already, even just going to the beach and like living in downtown. I was like, oh, this is so like monotonous. Like I've already lived here before. I've already experienced all these things. I don't feel like I'm growing or stretching or expanding as a person. So that already kind of shows the values that I have in general, because if that was something that bothered me, it's showing me that one of my greatest values is that expansion. And, it's kind of like a plant growing towards the light. It's this idea that human beings also have this need for expansion, for evolving, for becoming more at every time. And it's like your inner being is constantly calling you to more. I mean, is that not the whole human experience, that you're here to experience life and that you're on a journey in some way? So like why in the world would it be so limiting in some ways? Like, that framework of like, okay, you need to just go to work and make a living and then come home and do this and take care of this. And, that's just a very like limited mental like construct of how life should go. And so just coming into the world, a lot of times you have a natural pull towards your natural desires, but sometimes you get conditioned into like a more inauthentic version of yourself just by way of schooling or even the teachings from people outside of you or different generations and their belief systems. And then you're like, "Ah, but that doesn't feel right. It doesn't quite fit me." But, that's where some confusion can come in. And so I was like very, very aware that I'm like, you know what? This is in fact like I feel more in alignment in this regard than, there were elements, like obviously there were things that I love about Vancouver. I love the place I was staying. It was more of like a luxury place in downtown, in the heart of downtown Vancouver. I I was enrolled in like a life coaching program, and I, was wearing like this very preppy clothes, like cardigans and like my ankle boots. And, Vancouver has very mild weather. So even in the winter, you can wear like dresses and such. And I just really liked, like, I was just having like a really good time still. But like I mentioned, there was that element of something missing, that very element of like your soul fulfillment. I think that's a very common theme that sometimes people is like on the surface, everything can look good, everything can feel good, everything can feel like, oh wow, look, I'm like, there's a lot of things to be grateful for and appreciative for. And actually, that's also the state that you're required to be in before you can actually go to your next level expansion. Because if you're so far removed from that state, there's no way that you're going to be at all available or even in the vicinity to receive or allow in more than that. So it's this like, the double-sided coin, where on the one side of the coin, you have to be in the state of such gratitude and appreciation and really just living life to the fullest in the way that you can in that moment, like just feeling like so in awe and appreciative of many things, which was like a high frequency state that I was in fact in at that time, that also then highlighted the fact that there was something more that was missing. So it's that idea that like it happens simultaneously, that you're feeling like at the peak of your life and like just feeling so like your heart is full and like overflowing even, and just like such a vibrant state of being, that you're the closest that you are to, being in your vortex in a sense, like to being in that state of high frequency joy and flow and ease and abundance and love and wonder and beauty and appreciation. And that's the part where you're often called to more. Called to expand more. And along with with that is that need to grow and to expand. And that means letting go of this current circumstances. So it's like a process of letting go of those things that you very much appreciate in expansion for more. So it's this like bittersweet in a sense. Like there's a sense of like, wow, I love everything that is right now. And because I'm also desiring to grow, and because there is more calling me to even more levels of like freedom and expansion and growth, and even just deepening that sense of appreciation. It's like the set kind of changing scenes and the settings are changing, but you as a person are, you're constantly building upon what is already there. So it's like if you're watching like a movie or something, it's like there's always something like a plot changing, or the story goes on. Like you can't just be staying on the same scene and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this scene. It's like so perfect. It's the best. It's like, just want to linger here forever. But the plot has to go on. It's like this story still continues. It's like, what kind of a movie is just going to be like a one scene movie that like doesn't change, right? So something has to be changing. The character is growing. The character is evolving. The plot, the setting, the events, the movement around the character, all of these are shifting in some way. And that's the dynamicism of life. It's that is always flowing. That's the constant. It's like that saying, life is like a bicycle. To keep your balance, you have to keep moving. And so there's always this feeling of like you want to just hold on to the moment. It's like, there's so many principles that come into this. It's like Ichigo Ichi, like the Japanese philosophy. And even, yeah, it's just these concepts where like the river only flows the same way, does not flow the same way twice. It's all these ideas that like appreciating and cherishing the moment for what it is, because things are always moving and shifting and in a dynamic state of being. So of course, in trying to hold on, it's like trying to hold on to sand, right? It's trying to like grasp water in your hands or something. It's always going to be flowing, and that's the nature of life. So of course, I'm like loving life in many regards, but there's also this feeling of being called to more, being called to something else. And so taking that call to adventure and embarking on that unknown and being like, okay, I am choosing life in a sense. Like I'm choosing life. I'm choosing to say yes to the things that feel unfamiliar and scary and maybe like I don't want things to change. But in saying I don't want things to change, you're guaranteeing that sense of unhappiness, because life is inherently about change. Think about the times when you've been called to something and you're like trying to grasp and hold on to what currently is. That at some point it's going to the events are going to change and shift. It's like unless you're moving along with that and evolving and growing yourself, somehow the thing that maybe was once a good thing starts to become very uncomfortable, can even sometimes become painful, because you are like holding on to something that is like an illusion. You're like grasping onto something. You're trying to control something that is ultimately uncontrollable. And this is really where it's that nature that I think humans want to be able to capture and hold on and somehow grasp at the moment. And that moment is often lived by being just simply present and being in a state like, like the bamboo that is flexible, the willow that bends its branches, and like the river that simply flows with, and, all these principles from nature that we learn, that it's like you keep moving, you keep flowing. You're not a static creature. And it's this dynamicism that is the inherent part of the constant change that is life. And that simultaneously like beautiful, yet also sometimes heartbreaking aspect that you're like, oh, wow. And that's where that nostalgia and the memories, it's like, I always have very fond memories of like my childhood, and all the moments that obviously you're not going to turn back time and be like, I wish I could just relive this, unless you somehow videotaped it and then you have that piece. Like that's why people love to videotape things, right? They have like homemade movies, or nowadays a lot of people blog and stuff. So a lot of people who, when you try to capture these moments, that's the whole point, is that you realize that this moment is for the moment itself, unless you've captured it in a video or some kind of token of sentimental like value or something, or a souvenir of sorts, or like just simply documenting the moment somehow. It's obviously not going to be there forever. The good moments, the bad, whatever, like everything is always passing it every single time. And so this episode has just taken a turn for something I didn't realize was going to go on. I really thought I was going to start getting on to what happened when I get to Barcelona in Spain. But I've kind of gone off on this tangent of like the whole nature of life is about change. So I say this because actually I was feeling quite homesick in a sense. I was like, oh my God, I love Vancouver. Like I want to go back to my hometown in Alberta. And like, because I sense like every time I move, like from Alberta to BC, and then now BC to Toronto, and then, or Ontario, and then Ontario going to outside of Canada to Spain, like each of these moves is not like I'm just like one dimensional. I'm like, oh yay, like yes, this is all perfect. Yes, it's perfect in the sense that I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm truly just living life and being going as I feel called and whatnot. But at the same time, there's always something that you're releasing. You can't be in two places at once in that sense. It's like in choosing to say yes to something and choosing to say yes to your inner being, it also means being able to have that emotional hygiene where it's like I find that when you're truly like deeply present in the moment anywhere, where you're truly like being able to cherish and appreciate that time for what it is. Like you're really owning it and you're not like longing for something else or your brain isn't like half there while you're off somewhere else in your body, mind, or spirit. It's like you're fully there, you're fully present, your distractions are not taking away from you. You're actually like cognizant. You're just like you have this level of spiritual cleanliness where you're just like, you know what? I'm totally at peace and ease with what this moment is. That's when like the moments can pass by with an element of grace and elegance and you live the moment very, very well. As that saying is like, take care of the moment and the moments take care of itself. It's like, just imagine living every moment to the fullest. What does that mean? Like, imagine living every moment totally present and just like understanding the nature of the moment, that it's like for this moment only. The river never flows the same way twice. Imagine just like in every moment, you're totally present. Maybe you're capturing in any way that you feel is like fulfilling to your soul. Maybe you're called to write. Maybe you're called to speak. Maybe you're called to video or film. Maybe you're called to, document in some way, whatever your way of documentation is. Whatever your way of truly being in the moment or simply just capturing and being present and alive and in that state of vibrancy in that particular moment, that is almost like your ikigai, right? That's like your soul connection, your soul purpose, your soul alignment. Because there's always like give and take, where it's like you're receiving, but you're also giving. So whatever you're receiving, you're also kind of churning out in this way of like your perceptions become the things that you give back to the world. And when you're in this state of flow, you become very like not just magnetic, you become like this lighthouse. You start to like light up very brightly. It's like your vibrational state raises so high that you just can't help but be in a state of gratitude and appreciation because you're in that flow state. And that's where that element, that piece where you're able to be open to more ideas because you're closer to your higher state when you're in a state of joy and appreciation and bliss than you are when you're overthinking or your head or over analyzing or a state of worry or anxiety or fear or whatever. And so it's that dichotomy that when you're in this state, that paradox where it's like that bittersweet moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love and so in appreciation and so much in thanks and gratitude and awe. And the acknowledgement that this won't last. Like it's not going to last in the sense that every moment is always shifting. So it's like every meal you have, every moment, whatever is happening in this moment, whatever you're happy to be doing, it's like, yes, you can fully appreciate it, but the next moment is not going to be the exact same. You can have the memory of that moment, that nostalgia, be like, oh, that was a great meal, whatever. But you're not going to have that exact same meal again. Even if you recreate it, it's never going to have the exact same variables and circumstances and situation and circumstantial, you know, situation and event around it. That is, the river never flows the same way twice. Yeah, ichi in Japanese, that is like for this one time only. And that is the nature of life, like you only live once, but in a sense, like every moment you only live once. So it's not just like the entire lifetime, but also every single moment only occurs once. So like that and automatically like increases the time value of every moment to like infinity, right? It's like you realize that just how much you can truly appreciate the time value of every freaking second because every second never comes back again. Every single second is truly one of a kind. And if you live like every moment is your last, that's how you truly almost like take time to like the high value that it is. And you almost like make most of every moment in a sense. If you really can live in that high standard and energetic state on a consistent basis, just imagine, right? And, so as I'm saying, like I love Vancouver, I love my experience there, but at the same time, I'm now being called to Spain. And while I just had a great month in Toronto, I'm like, okay, that was just like a temporary thing. It's like life is always moving and shifting in whatever way it is. It's not even just about like the travel and location changing. It's like it doesn't really matter about the location. At any given time, it's like you're not gonna have the same day twice. You're never gonna have the same moment twice. Okay. So let's just put that aside that it doesn't have to be about movement and actual physical like relocation. That just happens to be my story and how things played out and where I was called in. This is at the heart, not even about travel. At the heart, this is really about leading with intuition and fulfilling your own personal alignment and that compass that's always guiding you from within, and that continued evolution and growth that your soul wants to experience and is here to essentially evolve into. And for whatever reason, it's just kind of that growth and expansion that allows you to become whoever you need to become, and whatever stories and messages and insights that you are here to garner in a sense. And so, I was like, I remember just like the first couple, like when I had just arrived in Barcelona, Spain, although there was an element of like, wow, this is so new, it's so foreign. Like I feel like I'm so interested in that way. Like I feel very alive and like curious and like just like that, your mind goes into this when you're exposed to something novel, it's like, ooh, for me at least, I become a lot more like present and like suddenly it's like hyper alert, hyper focused, like this feeling of like high concentration because you're like, oh, things are not just monotonous and like the same and familiar. For me, that's something that really activates me, right? That element of novelty, of the unfamiliar, of something foreign, exotic, different. I love things that are unique or that I haven't experienced before in that sense, or just seems like you're mentally stimulated on every level or something. So I'm in this foreign country, Spain, and things already feel different in the air. Obviously, the different language, the different culture, just different vibe, whatever. And but at the same time, I'm like almost had this longing. I'm like, oh, I wish I was back in Vancouver and like a place that feels so familiar to me. And I love staying in like my own bedroom and like all the obviously I picked the place that I was staying because it resonated with me. So I was like, oh, what? I can't believe that I, you know, left there. Like, oh, that was so like I'm like missing all these different things. I miss the cafes that I get to go to and the clothing that I was wearing there and whatnot. And I'm like in Spain now, and it's a different climate, right? So it's like I'm not really it's like too hot to wear the stuff that I was wearing in Vancouver. So I'm like having to wear like lighter clothes and I'm like almost like shedding this old identity and this old way of being. It's like this almost like this nostalgia for like a past version of me. So there's always like a release that has to happen from like who you were even just like a couple months ago to allow in a new sense of identity and like a new whatever new setting or place that you're in or called to. So it was very much like this bit of an identity shift. And at every moment, I feel like there's always some kind of identity shift happening. But in this case, it was like a rather large one. Like it felt more highlighted and emphasized in that sense. And just by way of being in a totally different country and really kind of just making that bigger like life change in a sense, which in a way didn't really feel like really a life change because I was kind of just going with the flow. But I definitely felt it because I'm like, wow, how am I in Spain? When just a couple months ago, I was just like in Vancouver, going about my day and the routine, going to all the cafes that I like, wearing the clothes that I love, staying, living in the high rise that I feel so like just so alive in. And so there was definitely an element of like not grief, but a little bit of that feeling of longing, like longing for that old me back, that that lifestyle and that experience and that situation. Like, how did I let that go in a sense? Like, it felt like I had to let it go. So I was definitely in this like shift, but at the same time, it was this gratitude and appreciation that I felt like I was like in the state where I realized like I really could appreciate things more as I'm in it. Because if I don't appreciate as much as when I'm in it or capturing it or really noticing all the details, that's where I feel like that longing comes in. Cause I'm like, oh my goodness, like, did I really cherish it truly during the time when I was actually present in my life? Because now suddenly I'm feeling a bit of that nostalgia or even that like longing for it to come back so that I can live it over once again. And this is something that I've kind of realized more and more as I kind of had all these different shifts. Now I'm like 37, right? It's like almost a decade since this was 2016 that this happened, right? So it's literally almost a decade ago that I'm like, you know what? The way that you are allow yourself to be in the moment so continuously and consistently is by simply cherishing the moment fully for what it is as you're in it, and that cognizance and that actual like awareness, and even that cycle of giving and receiving where you're not just living it, there has to be some output in some sense. So it's like capturing it or documenting in some way, like giving something from that moment. So it's like activating that part of you that's like, okay, I'm going to either film this or photograph it or create something from this, like a piece of art, like an artist would, right? That you can almost produce from this moment. That's how you activate that moment for what it is and give back like value. It's like inherently tied to your ikigai in a sense. It's like that sense of purpose that every moment has a story that wants to be expressed. And when you tap into that, it's like you truly activate and light up in the best possible way. And you recognize that that's the way that you actually keep a piece of that moment. That so that when you are feeling like, oh, you don't let the moments go to waste, because I feel like that's where a lot of the nostalgia comes in. Like even for me, I look back and I'm like, wow, there are so many moments that yes, I have in my mind, I have in my memory, but there's this sense of almost like not taking it to the fullest, like not truly activating what I was felt called to, which is like documenting it in some way, capturing it in some way, expressing that the appreciation for that moment in some way, in some high level way, where you've created some piece of content or piece that you can provide to the world and like to other people. It's that sharing quality. It's the reason I felt called to create that blog back in 2015 or something, that which is where the title Let the Story Write Itself came into play, because I was like, this is really just like leaving a director from above, like a higher source or entity that's really like leading me forward. It's not even coming from of my own mind. It really felt like all these things are, it's like I'm being led, I'm being directed. And I was open to that. It's like I'm like just allowing all these downloads to flow through me. It's like being a vessel for an energetic source to kind of express itself to you. And you start to realize like you're more an energetic being than you are like a physical human being, because you're more like a vessel to allow the ideas through and to live through you, and that expression of like what wants to be expressed through you. And so you become like this, like an instrument in some way, where you become a value by way of just what you're by your movement and what your process and like your journey of life and your story. It becomes like your gift to the world. It's like your ikigai, right? Your purpose. And it's this higher connection that you're not just living for yourself. It's not empty, it's not hollow, it's actually connected and high, like tied to a bigger picture and a larger story that's unfolding and always playing out. So this idea of that, like, I'm in Spain right now, but I don't feel alone in that regard. I feel like I'm being called, directed. And it's this idea of nostalgia because, it's like this human part of yourself that feels that sense of, in a way, grief, disappointment that maybe you didn't necessarily cherish or appreciate all the moments prior, or you weren't in that level of state of mind where you could really answer the call and live as you're fully as you're being called to. And that's really where sometimes that sadness comes in. Like, I really wish that I truly lived life to the fullest and like appreciated every moment and like allowed myself to do the things I was called to at that moment in every way, shape, and form. And at every moment, it's like I'm still expanding to that notion, always like releasing those blocks that like deny me from that having that full access to that part of me that truly wants to share more fully and transparently at every stage and really capture the moment as I live it. So this podcast episode really has delved into the nature of the moment and the shifting moments that occur at every time and every, you know, frame and of the story that plays out that is called life, and how that a little like shift from like each new, like when it going to Toronto to Barcelona, is really this idea of nostalgia. It's not the first time I'd experienced this. I'd experienced this when I had completed university. I experienced it every time I, felt like I was moving into a new stage of life or becoming a different version of myself, or had let go of a piece of me that was now like that I had moved out of and moving into a new identity. So every time I was growing or shifting or evolving in some way, I always felt this sense of nostalgia for who I once was, or like all the gratitude and appreciation and joy for every moment of that journey. And that's almost like the dichotomy, the paradox of it all. It's like it's that idea that like as much as the higher levels of joy and appreciation that you feel, also that awareness of just how much you truly, truly almost like have that love within you, that you want to hold on to the moment, but you can't like hold on to it. It's not like holdable. It's not like you can just freeze time and keep that moment forever. So it's like being able to navigate that duality, that life is constantly shifting while also being totally in the moment and appreciating and cherishing every moment for what it is really what this episode is about. It's that dichotomy of being fully in it while also being detached from it. It's like you're very present, but you're present in a very clean, energetic way where you're not letting the moment slip by. It's like emotional hygiene. So with that, I will finish off this episode. And in the next one, I really, really hope to get into, what transpired in Barcelona and Spain. I was there for nearly 2 months, was it? And then after that, I went to Morocco. So, like, how did that happen, right? This whole journey that kind of just unfolded without me really planning or knowing what the heck was happening. This was not in my conscious mind. This was not something that I was like, I really want to do this. This is something that I want to do. It was just kind of happened. It just kind of unfolded. It was just like the story writing itself. Okay, so that I will end that there.